Hi, 5th graders. Today we're going to continue our study on text structures. Remember, a text structure is a structure that is a building or a framework for a piece of writing. A text structure refers to how the piece of text is built. Builders can use different kinds of text structures to build different things. For example, a skyscraper is a different kind of structure from a house. Writers use different structures to build their ideas. Each text structure communicates ideas in a different way. So here are 5 text structures that we learned about yesterday: description, sequential or chronological, problem and solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect. Today we're going to focus on just one of those. Let's check out these books right here. One is called King James, the LeBron James story. The other one is Who Was George Washington? And the last one there is Secrets of a Songwriter about Taylor Swift. If you were writing these biographies, how would you organize all the information for the reader? Would you do a description? Would you do it sequentially or chronologically? Would you consider it to be a problem and solution, comparing and contrasting, or cause and effect? If I was telling the story of these people's lives, I would definitely pick sequential or chronological. They were born, then different things in their life happened to get them to where they are today. Remember, when you're looking at sequential or chronological, the signal words you'll hear are first, second, next, last, another, then, finally, after that, and before, to show you how their lives moved. Today, we're going to focus on chronological text structure. Authors use this structure to explain how things happen in an order. So you can consider this sequence and order. There are some more words that you'll see: before, in the beginning, to start, first, next, during, after, then, finally, last, in the middle, and in the end. This is going to go in order for what might happen first, second, and third in these people's lives. Also, when we think of sequential and ordering, you can think of a procedural text, which we've been looking at in reading groups, where you do this first, then this next to achieve a goal. A chronological text structure, authors use chronological order to explain how things happen in order. Chronological order is also called sequence or time order. You will know that you are reading a text in chronological order because you will see the words like first, next, later, then, and finally. You will often see chronological order in directions for things. For example, have you ever made macaroni and cheese? It's simple. First, boil some water and make some macaroni. Then, make your cheese sauce. After the cheese sauce is ready, mix it with the macaroni. Bake the entire thing in the oven. Finally, it's time to eat. We can tell this is a chronological text structure because I can easily pick out these key words. First tells you what to do first, then, after, and finally. These are all keywords that show us that something is going in order chronologically or sequentially. Here are 2 paragraphs. I want you to decide which one is in chronological order. So I want you to pause right now and decide, do you think the paragraph in the blue or the paragraph in white is chronological order? Come back to the video after you've decided. Okay, you're back. So you must have read both of these articles. Hopefully you've noticed that the article on the right that's written in white text is in chronological order because it has those key words again. For example, it talks about, it has the words that when it was founded, so that means first. It also has after that, and then it has the word today. Okay. Also, lots of times when you're looking at something in chronological order, it'll show you some dates. So I see the date 1681 here. Okay, so that's telling us Pennsylvania, how it started, and where it's at today. Okay, where the other one over here, I would say is more of a descriptive. It's just talking about the different places in Pennsylvania for historical sites. So it's not really telling us what came first, second, third, or fourth. When you're reading a chronological text, these are some things you want to be looking for. First of all, how are the steps organized? This one is written in one big paragraph. So they're not organized like you would see in directions where it would have number 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But it's written in one paragraph, but it uses those transition words of after that, today, and it gives some dates to help us understand what order it goes into. Next, number 2, what is the time span from the first to the last event? Well, if we look at this one, it started in 1681 and it's now 2014. So it's been there for quite a while. I'd say about 400, almost 350 years approximately. Number 3, another thing to look for is how does the author signal the change from one event to the next? And that's where he uses those transition words, after that and today. And then lastly, you want to look at what do all of the events explain. Lots of times you can find this in the very first sentence, which is our topic sentence. It'll show you what this paragraph is all about. So this one says, through the ages, Pennsylvania has seen many interesting events. So right there, just the key word of events tells us it's going to be talking about different events, and if they're in order, it's going to be chronological or sequential text structure. Where else do we see chronological or sequential text structures? Well, we actually see them a lot more often than you think. Let's talk about some of those. In news reports, whenever they're talking about an event that happened, they usually have it in sequential order. What happened first, what happened next, what happened last, especially if there's something like a robbery or there was a murder. They're looking at what do they think happened and in what order. Biographies. All the time in biographies, they always start with when the person was born, and they usually tell the events in order of their life and all the way till they died. In personal narratives, when you write a personal narrative later in this year, or when you wrote them last year, you used a BME chart, beginning, middle, end. So you were telling your story in chronological or sequential order. Instructions are a big one. Have you ever tried to make a cake where it just told you the ingredients, or cookies where it just told you the ingredients but it didn't tell you the steps of which to do? If you do that, sometimes your mixing bowl can become a huge mess and it won't quite come out right. So instructions, it's really important to be reading and understanding what you need to do first, next, and last. Recipes are a big part of that. Sorry, that was kind of instructions. I talked about recipes. If you talk about instructions also, if you were going to, let's say, build a picnic table. If you're going to build a picnic table, you couldn't screw all the pieces together first before you cut the pieces and before you buy all the supplies. So instructions are important as well. Lots of times when you read a book about animals, they'll concentrate on the life cycle of an animal, especially if it's an animal such as the butterfly that has lots of different things that happen in its life, or a frog where it makes different changes and has different cycles in their life. So that's also in sequential of what happens first, second, and last. Lastly, schedules. If you think about our daily schedule, we go from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. If you think about a schedule, so let's say for YO Rodeo, it's going to talk about the beginning of YO Rodeo and it's going to go to the last event of YO Rodeo. So, in review, sequential, otherwise known as chronological, describes events in order or explains the steps one must do to make something or to do something. So, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a perfect example, as well as a biography that tells a person's story from the beginning to the end. Signal words to look for are first, second, next, last, another, then, finally, after that, and before. Nice job today, guys. We'll practice this more next week.